New York has made the decision to expand its discrimination laws to include the overweight, sparking an international debate about the so-called obesity gap. City council legislators said larger citizens are treated differently when looking for jobs or housing in the city after giving the green light to the criminalisation of height or weight discrimination. Celebrating the change, one councillor said this was a monumental advancement for civil rights. Though Britons are statistically a tad less large than our American cousins, a LinkedIn study showed those in the UK classed as obscene, oh, not obscene,
obscenely obese,
obsequious, as overweight, earned just under £2,000 less a year compared to those in a healthy weight range. The UK law, as it stands, means the overweight are only protected from discrimination when their weight is such that they are considered disabled. I think this story is fascinating. Obviously, the New York end of the spectrum is quite extreme. Most people aren't looking to change legislation. But actually, when you look at the pay gap, which is what this really, really big survey that LinkedIn's done, the pay gap, and when you compare it to people with a normal BMI and people who are overweight, there is a really big weight pay gap there. And it's clear that people are being discriminated on size. What you do about that, whether you turn that into legislation and why, because are people being discriminated against because the employer thinks that person is unhealthy, therefore I don't want to employ that person, or whether it's thinking that person is unattractive, therefore I don't want to employ that person. That's very different.
I think it's more the former than the latter.
And just one final thing that I found really interesting. It's women who statistically have the biggest difference in pay. Women of the same qualifications, the larger woman will get less pay than the smaller woman, this found out. And it tended to be at the lower end of the employment spectrum, so the lower paid jobs. Until you go to the really highly paid, highly educated, highly skilled jobs, city jobs, let's say, financial services, when it's men, the overweight men aren't getting the same money as the thin men, which I found extraordinary. So there's this impression that you can't be a sort of city slicker, it's a wheeler and dealer.
You certainly can't be slick if you're
larger.
overweight.
But I think that there is a story there.
70 million adults in the US are classed as obese. 70 million, 36%. Over here, it's 25% of UK adults that are classed as obese. Personally, I've got nothing wrong. I've got no problems with obese people, but I suppose if you're looking at them in a workplace, you may think they're probably a bit lazier. Generally, people who are obese
is discriminating.
It's discriminating, but generally, people who are obese have generally worse health. Yeah. So they probably have more sick days. I'd like to look into that more and see, well, how many days off are they?
But again, you couldn't say that about somebody who's disabled, who has worse health.
Also, you could actually sort this all out really simply.
Lose weight?
No. What are you like?
He's not wrong.
No, in Sweden, the point is, in Sweden, you could actually find out how much everybody is paid. You can actually go and have a look and see how much other people are paid. That would get rid of any discrimination in one single go. Yes, I know.
I don't think.
But in one fell swoop.
First of all, how much? Personally, I don't think that's anyone's business. But I also think there's a cultural difference here, because in many Eastern countries like Korea and stuff like that, you actually have to put a picture of yourself on your CV, and how you look physically is they're open about the fact that it plays a role in your employment. But obviously in the US, it's a complete no-no. But I suspect they're more concerned with health-related absences, especially when you live in a country that doesn't have universal healthcare, but they eat like they have free healthcare.
Yeah.
So I think it's gone the other way, though.
And I think it's gone the other way in the sense that I think people pretend that things like physical appearance don't have an impact on your ability to do a job, and it slightly depends on what job you do. Yeah. And look, as somebody who, on occasion been very thin, and then recently lost quite a lot of weight, and because television, it does make a difference. But also for health reasons, it definitely makes a difference. Yeah. And there's no doubt now that 3 stone lighter, I'm more nimble and I'm able to run around more and probably be more productive and have better sleep and et cetera, et cetera. So I think to pretend that your weight doesn't necessarily impact upon your ability to perform in your job slightly depends on what you do. But then also to discriminate against people either for their looks or their age or anything else, I think you have to separate that out, because very often it will be perception rather than reality. So I think there are competing things here, but it's not quite as cut and dry as people might say.
And James, just coming back to your point about the fact that you've lost weight, I also used to be a lot bigger than I am now, and I'm getting more work now that I'm smaller. Now, does that mean that there was discrimination? Or, as I think, which is probably equally important, I'm more confident now.
And you're
And a
getting
more,
better at your
and,
job.
and a more, but a more confident. My point is, a more confident person is more likely to get a job and get a pay rise. So there are so many elements of this. Because when you're larger, you feel, not everybody, but you often feel really miserable. You're not going to go banging on people's doors saying, I'm the best person for this job, because you feel bad about yourself and lacking in confidence. So there are so many different bits of this story, and you think, how on earth can you legislate for it?
And it's interesting how you were talking about how with women, it's predominantly women, I think, in some particular areas. And of course,
mainly.
Women, I know it happens to women and men, but of course, women, when you get pregnant, that changes your shape. Sometimes it's about losing baby weight, and the baby weight doesn't come off, and you're a bit stressed and tired, and all the rest of it. All those things all kind of feed into it.
Yeah.
Daisy, if I'm honest, you've been much better presenting since you lost the weight, so keep it up.
Oh.
Look at
Shame workout.
The shade.
I'm glad you got a weekend to go.
I could say it's a backhanded compliment, but I think actually that would be complimenting whatever that was.